came home a little later than usual because I got my boss hooked on leverage. And yeah, we had to finish the episode. So, Stinky Man! Stinky Man is with us today. You doing good there, buddy? It's the only good thing I got right now. Oh God. I'm not ready. I don't think I could convince you to come hang out in my lap, could I? Stinky. Stinky. You wanna come here? I don't think there's enough space in... Oops. Sorry. Became a ghost again. I don't think there's enough space in my lap. You wanna come here? Stinky. You wanna come here? Yeah, I don't think he gets it. I'm sitting too close to the, I'm sitting too close to the desk. Okay. I also had caffeine, so I might be a little more than usual. Now that that's saying much. Yes? He's like, why aren't you paying attention to me? Clearly, he's the most important thing in the room. Oh God. Oh God. Okay, here we go. Chapter 26 has the fourth house skull. Who's the fourth house again? Abigail and Magnus? I always frickin' get them confused. No, I think it's Isaac and Jean-Marie. I always get them confused! Tridentarius is easy to remember. Pent. Pent is 5, right? Pentagram? Yeah. Okay, so 4. Who fucking knows why? Okay, I'm just... The commander had not brought along Pasha's truck with the grill. They had packed everyone into one of the big people-moving trucks with the seats that faced the sides, the kind you saw mercs riding in around the city, but with a cover so that nobody could see inside. It was a dark and blueless night. Oh God, I love that. I'm also out of yellow tabs. I might have to go back to my room and get more tabs. We'll see. I do have the other tabs, but I think these are the ones with the bad stickies. Okay. Thick clouds had gathered over the tops of the buildings, an unusual amount of atmosphere. It made everything sticky and hot and awful. And now the deluge, Weesuffer said, in as close to a good mood as Nona had ever seen her. Pyrrha had the corpse prints over her shoulder. Kiryonagai was very good at playing dead, Nona had to admit, completely limp and believable. It was a good thing, too. Even in her good mood, Weesuffer did not like it when the body of Ianthe Nibirius turned up, even once, Calamities explained. Nor did Weesuffer want to put Kiryonagai in the same truck as them. Eggs. Basket, was all she would say. Calamities was forced to relent. I can say things. Nona was strangely... Slow down. Nona was strangely relieved that she wouldn't have to ride with the prince or have to look at her, even if the prince was playing dead. The moment Weesuffer saw Camilla, she called a Blood of Eden medic over, who declared they could not do better on the dressing, but immediately gave Camilla quite a lot of drugs. Camilla had tried to say no pain meds, but Calamity said briskly, every pain medication you have, please. Oh my God, amazing. Nona had never seen Camilla so meek or malleable. It was like all the times she had ever seen Camilla happy all at once. God. When Weesuffer had declared that the body had to be kept apart, Camilla said instantly, I'll ride with it. Pierre said, no, I will. But Cam said, no, you stay with Nona. Nona thought this was a bit cruel. Don't you want to stay with Calamities? Camilla and Calamities. Calamities in the handsome, nice-haired body that smiled in a much nicer way than it had ever smiled for Ianthe Nibirius, looked at each other. They had not moved much more than an arm's length apart since Calamities had fought for rights to the body and won. Amazingly and fearfully, Cam looked at Nona and winked. We need some space, she said. I'm getting sick of him. Not surprised, said Calamities. I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious of all these cute moments. Okay, because... It's fine, I'm fine. As they parted with nothing more than Cam leaning forward to touch his forehead to hers again, And they parted, with nothing more than Cam leaning forward to touch his forehead to hers again very briefly. So the prince and Camilla got their own truck. There were only 2 trucks in a cavalcade of people-moving trucks, and theirs and the corpse prince's and Cam's were the middle ones, and theirs didn't seem very full at all. The moment an unmasked, wild-eyed Pash hopped out of the truck to pull the ramp down for Pyrrha, she had looked at the corpse of Kiriona Gaia and said in the loudest possible in the loudest possible voice, "Oh, fuck no," and had gone to sit in the farthest corner of Nona's truck instead. Commander We Suffer sat in the center with a headpiece and a flip-top computer, and Nona crowded in next to Pyrrha and Palamides. Palamides sat next to Crown, and Crown had laid the captain down across 3 seats. The captain wasn't looking very good, but she wasn't saying anything. Palamides had checked up on her, looked at her eyes, and listened to her breathing as Crown watched, chewing on her littlest fingernail. In the end, she said, "Is there nothing you can do, Master Warden?" "Not in this body." Palamides levered over the captain's jaw. Nona craned her neck to watch, knowing it was nosy but not caring, and noticed the captain's tongue was bluish and purplish and swollen. He said, "She's suffering micro-seizures. I'm worried about her brain." Crown said urgently, "Master Warden, please, she's come so far and fought so hard." "Let's trust her to fight a little harder," said Palamides, and he rolled the captain onto her side. He tilted her head down a little and threaded a strap across her middle. "Make sure she doesn't choke." Meanwhile, Pyrrha kept twisting her neck to look at Pash, of all people, scowling maskless in the corner. Nona was desperate for Pyrrha not to do anything stupid, like flirt with her. She really thought Pash would do something awful to her kneecaps if she tried, and if that happened, Nona knew she would throw up. It had been a very long day already. Understatement. We Suffer said to Palamides, "The shuttle?" "Secure," said Palamides, which Nona thought was a flawless way of telling the absolute truth. "I have left my most trustworthy guards at the barracks. Tell them not to explore. Prince Yenthe Nibirius left behind wards and necromantic traps. I have control of this body, but I can't do anything about any nasty surprises she prepared for us," said Palamides. We Suffer said, "You know that we would neutralize your people, not kill them." "I think they've been neutralized long enough." Crown said, "There are fewer than 20 cohort soldiers left in there, ma'am. They're not in good shape. They may well try to kill themselves rather than be taken in by blood of Eden forces, especially if my sister isn't there to help. Their morale will break. Please wait." And Palamides said, "Tell me everything. Where's the 6th House oversight body?" "I have the good news and the neutral news." Okay, that's a little better, but... Said Commander We Suffer. "Mervwing has been forthcoming, in their own way. Your people are being held underground, being moved constantly from place to place to avoid detection. The tunnels you see..." The convoy? Are they in the convoy? They're in the convoy, aren't they? I love that sometimes I get to put things together and feel smart. I mean, I'm not dumb, but still. My reading speed has been going up and my reading comprehension has been going down. That's just how this works. And I borrowed that phrase from a friend. Talking about the exact same thing. The tunnels you see, a lawless and dangerous area, but Unjust Hope has perfected his art of hiding in the most dangerous places. He was always fond of the mobility doctrine. "How many underground sites?" began Palamides, but Nona's neck had gone stiff of its own accord. Her short-term memory, never very good, had developed a sharp picture in her head. She could hear a high, frightened voice saying, "Fucking nuts, man, fucking nutter." She could taste little green fruits. This is why I need the yellow tabs, because what the fuck is that supposed to mean? I guess I'm gonna cut this in half. If I have the scissors in here. I should. Yes, I do. I don't want it to be too thick. It's like much thicker than my other tabs. I should have cut 2 at once, but whatever. It's gonna be a little uneven. Oh well. Okay. What that makes me think of is the people who tried to, was it like Honesty? Who tried to jump the convoy? Though I don't know about the little green fruit. Oh, I think they weren't they eating little green fruits? Okay, so I guess that's not really a yellow. Another piece I put together. Okay, let's just... Multiple. The tunnels underground are both extensive and very unsafe. Collapses, you see. My people have refined the search to 4 possible locations, but you desire thoroughness, swiftness, and the safety of your people. I offer you 2 out of 3. And it is more likely 1.5. Calamity said irascibly, "Are you telling me that Blood of Edom locked them all in a truck and drove them around the city this entire time?" "Classic Blood of Edom move," said Pierre. "Fucking insane, surprisingly effective, relies on a lot of soldiers pissing in a lot of bottles." Our Lady of the Passion made a sound that to Nona was unmistakably a laugh, and obviously hated herself for this so much that she curled up in her seat and glared all around at everyone. This is my favorite dynamic, when, you know, two opposing people either, like, say the same thing or laugh at the same joke or something like that, and then immediately try to pretend like nothing happened. Like, don't you dare. Don't you dare pretend like something happened. Yeah, probably gonna have to get another one because I'm about to run out of my funny tabs. Calamity said, "Make it safe and swift. We are very short on time." We Suffer moved aside the flip-top computer and crossed her long legs. She was wearing trousers with lots of pockets, but she sat as though she were wearing something much prettier. In the olden days, Nona would have immediately commenced practicing how to sit like that and been able to do it perfectly the first time around, but now she looked at the commander with her elegant older face and she felt a great hot pang inside of her. Some kind of sorrow related to legs. Okay, so we're moving the yellow tab to that because, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Makes me think of the whole, Nona had never liked having hands. Some kind of sorrow related to legs. Did anyone get their legs broken? No, that was in the Provost Dogs trilogy. I've been reading Tamara Pierce this whole time as well. One of my rereads. Alright? Who hurt their legs? I think Gideon hurt her leg in the fight with Cytheria. That will involve sending my people in on lightweight vehicles, cycles, and whatnot in small groups through the service tunnels. They may cover a lot of ground and not draw attention from drivers. The problem being that service tunnels do not cover all the ground. There's a risk in each area that we would miss Mervwing's trucks entirely. We might count one area as clear and find ourselves mistaken. Pierce said, "You worked this out? What's the estimated success rate?" Crown plucked one of the clipboards from We Suffer's pile and the commander pointed to certain areas. Crown said, "Different for each site, 57%, 40%, 32%. Commander, these numbers are worthless. If you want heavy vehicles in the tunnels, I cannot assure you that Mervwing will not liquidate the asset. Unjust Hope is not having a good night, and he may assume he will never have another good night ever again." Calamities asked, "Is there no way to make those numbers better?" "Listen, you sniveling jackshit," said Pash. Nona was glad Cam wasn't there. "You sound like every admin suit there ever was. Can we make these numbers better? Oh yeah, sure, let me pull the good numbers out of my fucking asshole where I stash them for safekeeping. These are the best numbers you're going to get." "I really, really hate to say this about Pash," said Crown, "but she's right, Warden." "Thank you, fuck you," said Pash. Pierre looked at her again, and Pash made a big harumph and looked away. Apologies. I did sound like I was at the resource committee. So, Calamities admitted. All of a sudden, the captain made a horrible gurgling sound. It sounded weirdly like guttural laughter. Nope. I think the square is still in the right place to get most of my face in focus, as opposed to everything else. Her feet twitched, and Crown held her down and checked her over until the loudest sound of was the captain's breathing. Nona cleared her throat, then cleared it again, just in case. "I know where the convoy was earlier this week," she suggested. "Yes, Stinky? Yes? It's way too early for food. It's too early. It is. You silly little boy. What do you want? Oh, you want to come here? You want to come here? Oh, there we go. Oof. Look at him. Look at him. It's the boy. He's purring. You want to hang out here? Want to hang out here, boy? You don't have to, but I'll pet you. Oh, you're stuck in my sweater, my dear. There we go. Hi. Hi, baby. He sheds so much. I get hair in my face and everywhere else every single time he hangs out. Okay, honey. Every single head turned to look at her, even Pash's, and she felt hot in the face, and she said indignantly, "Okay, just got cat hair all over myself for no reason. Oh well, I wanted to see if you wanted to hang out with me. Clearly not. I'm not cool enough." Oh well. I feel like it's gonna be like... I'm gonna feel like I'm having cat hair in my face. But probably not. And she felt hot in the face and she said indignantly, I do, or my friend saw it and it had a bunch of people in it with white eyes like they couldn't see, except they could see, and then Honesty got his face smashed. Ask the angel. They'll tell you I'm not lying. Oh, white eyes. I remember. Suddenly. I'm sure that was one of my yellow tabs. To say the commander we suffer looked astonished would have been an understatement. Are you certain? You've been talking about the convoy, Nona said eagerly, pleased to have any sign of encouragement. We all know about them, or at least my gang does, at school. Honesty went down there to make money by stealing air conditioning systems, but it ended badly, and he says he'll stick to drugs. But this is a story being told by, what, a child? A teenager? About some other person who says they saw some people in a truck. Is your friend to be trusted? Nona dithered. I don't think he was lying this time, she said. Really, seriously, ask the angel. Ask AIM. The commander put her flip-top computer in Crown's arms and stood up. She kept her balance using the swaying handholds at the top of the truck, and she turned her face away from Nona so that Nona could not see what she was saying, which made hearing and understanding nearly impossible. While she was talking, a muffled... Buddy! Stop playing with the plastic bags. Those are not good for you. Stop it! While she was talking, a muffled crack boom of thunder sounded overhead, then another softer crack boom, followed by long whistles like something breaking a far-off sound barrier. Fash said, missile launcher? Wrong sound, said Pyrrha. The commander turned around. Nona, she said, would your friend Honesty tell us the exact location where he saw the trucks? Even in the circumstances, Nona had to laugh. No, never. Honesty says never tell anything to anyone in uniform. Would he tell you? Nona felt very grave. If you had asked me that yesterday, she said, I would have said probably yes, because Honesty is my friend, but Hot Sauce shot me when she found out I was a zombie, so I'm out of the gang. Children, they're very forgiving, said the commander, proving to Nona she had never been around children. She said into her receiver, the messenger will tell you the street, split us off, and take us there. Pyrrha leant over. Do you want me to go with you, Junior? But Nona knew she couldn't take Pyrrha either. It just wouldn't work. No, she said drearily. At least I want you to, but you can't. At least if Honesty tries to hit me, she reasoned, cheering herself up, I can do one of my horrible screams. That'd impress him. Oh, honey. A hard wind had whipped up when they dropped Nona outside the decrepit building where Honesty lived. Pash jumped out of their idling trucks, and so had several other blood-of-Eden soldiers bristling with guns. Nona felt very vulnerable ducking up the rickety stairs. The wind suddenly blew upward so hard as she mounted the second staircase that she thought she would fall backward and off, but she pulled herself along doggedly. It seemed to her that her entire brain now lived somewhere in her forehead. Her body knew it was tired, but it was as though someone else were feeling it, or maybe that she weren't feeling it at all. Honesty lived in what had used to be a utility room, so it didn't have any numbers on the door. Honesty always said he found that comforting, staying in an unlisted apartment. She hammered on the door, and when nobody answered, she despaired. She hammered again and hissed desperately, Honesty, it's me! Let me in! But there was still no sound from within. What if Honesty had gone out? But then the door cracked on a rusted chain, and a watery blue eye was visible in that seam between door and frame, and she heard his familiar hoarse voice. Nona? Honesty, please let me in, she said. I can't. Will you talk to me then, just here at the door? His eye flashed one way then another. He said more conversationally, it's not like I don't want to see you. It's not like I don't want to, Nona, but you gotta understand. It's that, well, you see, Nona knew immediately and was miserable. You've talked to Hot Sauce. Is it true? Said Zombie. Are you a zombie? Said Zombie. Said Honesty. Are you a zombie? Even if I said I wasn't, would you go against Hot Sauce? Hell no, said Honesty. Good, said Nona. I would think less of you if you did, Honesty. Because even if I'm not in the gang anymore, I want you to know I think it's important to believe Hot Sauce first. Honesty looked backwards and forward again, his pale eye roving restlessly over her and her surrounds. You've cut your hair, he said. Camilla did it. It makes you look mean as. I know, Nona sorrowed. It'll grow back, maybe, said Honesty cautiously. If you can push a bullet out of your head, your hair's probably okay. What do you want anyway? It's the convoy, she said, wringing her hands. I need to know where you saw them. What street you went down when you went on that job with the convoy, Honesty? For he had tried to shut the door on her. Honesty, this is a matter of life. The chain rattled, and the door hesitated. You're supposed to say, and death, he supplied. I've started not to believe in the other one, said Nona. Oh, sweetheart. I feel like I have cat hair in my mouth. I really hope I don't. What's up, buddy? What? You want to come hang out again? You didn't like it. Stinky, stinky. You're not like a dog. You don't really understand. You want to come here? You want to come here? You want to come here? Let's try again. Come on. Oof. Yep, you're stuck. Be careful, buddy. There we go. Okay. I've started to not believe in the other one, said Nona. It's stupid saying end death when most of the people who die get up and walk around again. Maybe if I said a matter of life and double death. Honesty said, how about life and death where you don't come back? That's so long, said Nona. Honesty, please tell me the name of the street and I'll go away. I'll go away forever, I think. And I want you to know that if I go away forever and you go into the building and someone lets you into my room, I want you to have all the coins in my ceramic fish. And if you check at school, they keep my old wiping rag in the desk. Honesty said, what the hell would I want with your old wiping rag? Sometimes they put drops of turpentine on it and you might be able to sell it to get someone high, said Nona pitifully. The door closed in her face. Nona felt like a failure, but before she could try again, staved the door in with a good solid shove, hoping that she wouldn't wimp out at the last moment. It opened again. Buddy, your tail is on the book. It wasn't Honesty. It was Hot Sauce. Honesty was right there behind her shoulder, saying mulishly, I don't care. She's always going to be my friend, boss. I won't ditch a girl like that. A girl who thinks of my business like that. I'd go into business with a girl like that, boss, okay? But Nona had no eyes for him. Nona stood on the threadbare, filthy carpet and looked at Hot Sauce, and Hot Sauce looked at her. Her heart trembled in her throat. Come in, sit down, said Hot Sauce. Nona sat down on one of Honesty's chairs, which consisted of a big square of cardboard on the floor. Hot Sauce sat on another. Nona drew her knees up to her chest and said, I can't stay, so please don't shoot me because it'll take up time. Don't shoot her anyway, said Honesty. Bullets is expensive. Hot Sauce ignored him and said, Are you going away? Yes, said Nona. So are the other necromancers. Zombies, I guess they won't. No. Do not rub against the iPad. It is already precariously perched. I love you, but why did I think this was a good idea? There's going to be cat hair everywhere. He looks very pretty, though. Give me a second. I want to take a picture. Buddy. Stop it. You do look pretty, though. Okay, he's just going to sit here in front of me. Don't touch the iPad. Okay, goodbye. Okay. I guess there won't be any more here for a while. There'll always be more necromancers. I suppose eventually, said Nona, feeling wet and depressed. Honesty had spread the map. There's cat hair on my book now. Why is it that I love cats and they're so soft, but cat hair bothers me so much? I don't know why. I do not know why. Okay. Honesty had spread the map that had hung in the classroom out on his sleeping bag. Nicked it, he said to Nona's quizzical glance. He was following something with his finger. He said, give me a moment. Then he said, there, because that's the alley where the winos were. It's the only one that ends in the triangle. Hot Sauce said without looking, write it down, idiot. You know Nona can't do written stuff, boss. It's not for her. Fine, I'll print, he said generously. My joined-up writing's too sophisticated to read. Honesty, I love you. Hot Sauce and Nona were left together. Nona kept stealing glances at Hot Sauce, at her closed-off, silent face, with its ridges like strange waves on the ocean. Hot Sauce met her gaze levelly, and Nona said, will you tell Born in the Morning and beautiful Ruby and Kevin I love them? You don't have to say yes or no, but think about it, please. And will you tell the nice lady teacher I'm sorry that I had to leave work, but at least I didn't die at the water treatment plant, and if they get a new teacher's aide, they have to be specially nice to the tinies. It's not their fault they're small. Hot Sauce said, the angel? Nona swallowed. The angel's important, Hot Sauce. Well, said Hot Sauce, we knew that. Honesty said, "Finished," and he folded up the bit of paper and he deposited it in Nona's waiting hands. Nona immediately shoved it into her pocket in case the wind wanted to blow it away. Honesty said, "Don't get involved in the convoy. You know that. Don't get involved in the convoy. You know what, Nona? That shit's creepy." Nona decided not to tell Honesty that the convoy was probably full of zombies. "Don't you take jobs like that again," she said. "There's lots in my ceramic fish, okay?" She scrambled to her feet and brushed some of the wetter cardboard off her black trousers. Hot Sauce also rose to stand. Hot Sauce always stood so beautifully, and she walked Nona to the door, which took 2.5 steps. Nona looked at Hot Sauce. She was terribly afraid she was about to cry, but then she burst out, "Hot Sauce? Why are you called Hot Sauce?" "Nona, I love you." Hot Sauce blinked at her. "You really want to know?" she said. "Yes," said Nona. "Yes, yes, terribly yes." Hot Sauce looked up at the chipped ceiling of Honesty's apartment, then down at the carpet, and then at Nona. "Because I really like it," she admitted. "What? You can put it on anything," said Hot Sauce. "Spicy food's always better. You can put it on rice, but you can also put it on bread." Nona reached out. She wrapped her arms around Hot Sauce. She whispered, "Hot Sauce, forgive me, so I can know what it feels like." God damn it! Stop making me cry, Nona. I don't even know if that's a personal favorite, but it's making me emotional, so we already know that I don't have a color for that. I could have started a new one, but whatever. Hot Sauce was as still as a statue in Nona's arms. Then she gently perambulated Nona toward the door, bumped her gently over the threshold, looked her dead in the face. "We're cool," she said, and awkwardly, "I'll always love you, Nona." Nona found that huge tears were dripping out of her eyes, making it hard to see Hot Sauce. "Can I be in the gang again?" she whispered. Hot Sauce wavered. "Yes," she said, "but you're on Kevin bathroom duty forever for being a zombie. That's fair." And she shut the door. It's adorable. Okay. We've got another pretty short chapter in the Jonterlude that's actually a little long, it seems like. Oh man, yeah, the Jonterlude is long. Okay, so 87 to 410. That might be it for today. Let's see if I can focus by itself on my face without needing help. Chapter 27, Second House Skull. The thunder cracks had increased tenfold, with no rain to be seen. The night had grown so hot that everyone in the big truck had started to sweat. The moment Nona had moistly thrust the note into Wee Suffer's hand, the commander had barked into her headpiece. "Go! All units not on barracks duty are now deployed. Interwing rules no longer apply. Taciphon wing cells repeat. This is Cell Commander We Suffer and We Suffer. We have recommenced Operation Lock and Key. Repeat. We have recommenced Operation Lock and Key." It's really obvious, but it's kind of funny. There was a ragged cheer from the drivers and a powerful "Oorah!" from deep in Pash's chest. That's what you say in Russia when you're cheering. Like, "Oorah." It's funny. I mean, I'm sure it's not only just Russia, but I have cat hair on my phone now. Nope, it needs help. Okay, there we go. From deep in Pash's chest, one hand steadying herself against the rattling car seats, as she pulled a pair of tough, rustling overalls over her day clothes. We Suffer continued. "No speeches. All I shall say is revenge is a dish best... Revenge is a dish best served ice cold. Cells... I'm gonna fuck this up. Safting, Zor, Birmingham, Troya, Maputo, Terry, proceed. Memphis, Taxa, or Taksha? There's a little dot under the S, so I don't know. Calakmul, Valencia, Opava, Dundee, proceed. There was an aerial screech far overhead, another long whistling crack of something atmospheric. The commander levered her headset away from her face, sighed nigh hysterically, and said, "I never thought her operation would begin afresh by extracting Hausers from another Blood of Eden wing, and yet it is unmistakably the first step." Pyrrha said, "It's not one she would have taken." We Suffer looked at Pyrrha inquiringly, tapping her fingers on one knee. I noticed you love to make these statements, she said. Commander Wake might have said this. Commander Wake would have thought that. I have come to the conclusion that you are not simply trying to annoy me and others like me, but I have no idea what you're doing otherwise. Next to Nona, Pyrrha gave an ineloquent shrug. Maybe I just like talking to other people who knew her. And should they wax so nostalgic with you, her murderer? Pyrrha was unmoved. I like to think I knew her as well as anyone else, Commander. As well as anyone could know her. Pash viciously snapped shut the clasps on her trousers and pulled a vest over her head, putting her brightly dyed hair into complete disarray. Say one more word on this fucking subject, and I swear to all fuck I'll do for you. Pyrrha said, Wake had your photo, you know. She kept it on her. What? When Pash's head whipped around, Nona could see that this had shaken her badly. Her bird's beak features had all scrunched together toward the front as though clustering for safety. And this made her scars zigzag up her forehead and her nose. She said, Oh, shut your mouth! But there was a desperate note to it. Knew the moment I saw you. What were you, 9, 10? We suffer said, Like dirt, Dve, I ask you to stop from one alive human to another more or less so. But Pash was saying quickly, Let her, she's bullshitting, con artist stuff. This might be my only chance to say this, said Pyrrha comfortably, and I'm seriously nicotine deprived, which makes me sentimental. You're the kid in that photo. She kept it folded up in her pliers case. You're holding an automatic 3 sizes too big for you, right? One of your front teeth is gone. She holds up that photo to me and she goes, If it wasn't for filth like you, nice kids like this wouldn't have to hold these. Pash's throat was working. Pyrrha continued, I mean, I'd buy this a lot more if you weren't so obviously proud as hell. And she only laughed in that mean-ass way she always laughed and said, That's my submachine gun she's holding. Pash closed her eyes. Nona held her breath, but Pash wasn't mad or upset. She looked as though she were having a religious experience. I remember asking if you really were a nice kid, Pyrrha said. She said, No, she's my flesh and blood. She takes after me. After that, I kept thinking about you for a long time. Sister? Yeah, when it was like she didn't have another kid, did she? No, I don't think so. Oh yeah, because she hated children. Pash swallowed once, twice, 3 times. No, my mother was her sister, she said gruffly. And not that it means shit to you, wizard. If you're lying to me, I swear. Polymede said mildly, we're conversant with the concept of family in the 9 houses, right? Pash seemed genuinely surprised. Why the hell would it matter to you? Then she checked herself and said, Scratch that. Why the hell would that matter to me? You don't give a fuck about families when you're carving them up. At a warning glance from We Suffer, Pash scowled expressively. She said, Well, I'll leave you with this. Fuck you. And then her vivid blue head disappeared under a helmet, her bright eyes beneath a visor. Wow. What a devastating retort. Nona found a sigh escaping her chest. All her noises seemed to surprise her now. It was as though her body were capable of shocking her by doing things that did not seem connected to Nona. Probably needs a narratively important tab. Pyrrha reached over and touched her hand gently and said, How are you holding up? Before Nona could answer, there was another high-pitched whistle, far closer to them now. Outside their truck, shockingly close, and a dull thud and a huge pattering of stone. The truck screeched to a halt, then lurched forward again, and everyone inside held onto their seats as the truck juked left. It said quite a lot about life in the city that nobody really freaked out about this the first time, nor the second time, nor even the third time when they heard yelling coming from the front of the truck. We Suffer's headset crackled to life, and she brought it back down to her mouth. Report, she said then. Pardon? Pyrrha stood, swaying with the swerving movements of the truck, and picked her way along the handholds to the back, where the cover had been lashed down tight. There was a clear window of soft plastic you could look through, so long as you didn't want to see much, or clearly. It would have been bad looking out of it during the day. At night, with a lot of streetlights gone, it was basically impossible. Over the headset, We Suffer said, short and clipped, Keep us together, do not reroute either package, do not engage, take the first off-ramp you can find, and get us underground. Pyrrha had gotten a long look out the window. She suddenly squatted down, looking at the pegs that kept the cover tight at the back. A corner flapped free and slapped violently at itself, letting in gusts of hot, muggy night air, which, in that space, felt like a breeze. Strong yellow lights from the headlights of the truck behind strobed over them all. Palamedes moved to clamp his arm around Nona's, and Nona held onto her seat and the armrests tightly as Pyrrha leant out. The truck behind them honked in alarm and stared out at the street. When she leant back in, Nona was profoundly upset by her body. Pyrrha was so sinewy and tough, and she was so calm, unbunched, unhurried, unaffected by most things, sweet and slouchy, and always the least afraid person in the room, even if that room had Cam in it. But now she looked at Calamities and Nona with her deep, dark eyes, and she had an expression Nona hadn't seen there before. I don't like this. I guess it was too much to hope for that, everything would be all right, relatively, without anyone I care about getting dramatically hurt. Sexist, she said. Game over, I'm afraid. An air siren was wailing, the one they only used in the rainy season to announce a problematic amount of water or waves. Calamities looked at Pyrrha and said crisply, "It's not? It must have retracted a while ago," said Pyrrha. "We never could have got out of here in the shuttle. No way, no how. The first wave is here." What the fuck is happening? Suffer said, "No planet killer has attacked a planet like this in my lifetime, or in the lifetimes of any of my superiors. Number 7, Varn the Eater, always was lively," said Pyrrha. "But after killing my necromancer, I'd assumed the damn thing would go dormant for a good century. That's how it was ripped apart. That's how it was after it ripped apart Cassiopeia." "Is it after the lictor?" Suffer said urgently. "If we neutralize that body, then—" Calamities held out his hands helplessly. "If it were responding to the soul of Ianthe Niberius, wouldn't have responded days ago. From what I gather, it doesn't take a resurrection beast that long to spin up. The slow part is getting in position, and it's been in position for months." "It doesn't matter why. There's heralds out there," said Pyrrha impatiently. "If number 7's blown, it's blown. We'd need a lictor to lead it away. A fully instantiated, experienced, serious lictor who'd need a start point halfway across the galaxy, preferably with 2 other lictors to engage it in the river. And if we had all that, we'd hope to God it rerouted the heralds the moment it found better prey. You want Cyrus, Augustine, Cassiopeia. You want Gideon the First, and Gideon the First is dead. He's not coming back." "Oh God, Gideon," said Pyrrha suddenly. "Gideon, you died for nothing." Suddenly the captain started violently trembling. Crown immediately moved to hold the captain's hands away from her face, said in low tones, come on, Deuterus, I'm here. Fight this, goddamn you. Stay awake and fight." And the captain made a noise like, Nona made her body stand on its 2 feet. 2 feet, the worst number for feet. Not so many that they were ever useful, not so few that you didn't have to think about them. What the fuck? Oh my gosh, she's gonna do something and I'm gonna cry. Okay, I think I need my card again, because I'm gonna start skipping. She walked to the end of the truck and stood where the wheels burred beneath her, and she pushed Pyrrha aside. Pyrrha fell back flat on her back on the bottom of the truck, and she was sorry immediately, but she didn't have time, and she stood in front of Crown, and she held out her hand. "Sword," she said. Crown said falteringly, "Nona?" She took too long. Nona took her sword. She had to use her hands to bend Crown back enough to get at the scabbard. It wouldn't pull free, it was at the wrong angle, so she cut it out of its scabbard. The blade parted the scabbard and came out. It was very heavy on her wrist, and dragged a little on the truck floor with a bright, awful screeching. There was a gun trained on her. Pash had jumped to her feet. Suffer was saying, "Passion, do not shoot!" And Calamities was saying in the other body, "Nona, stop! Nona, talk to me!" And it was too much. Nona had to get out. She pushed the flap aside. The truck behind them honked again, and she found the side of the truck with her hand. It was too hard to climb with the sword in her other hand. She needed two, so she sheathed it in her hip, making sure it wedged in firmly. What the fuck? Ow! Some of the shirt went with it, but it came out the other side. Nona was glad it was someone else's shirt instead of her salt chip fish shop shirt. She wasn't able to think on her love for her salt chip fish shop That's a fucking tongue twister. She had clambered up onto the top of the truck and was standing there, in the hot, wet blast of the wind in the night, with the truck roaring down the street, fishtailing occasionally, and she could see everything. There was a rain of blobs falling out of the sky. They were shaped like teardrops, twirling crazily as they drove through the atmosphere, lodging themselves in buildings and in the road and in the tops of cars, coming down with an almighty splatter of thick gray mucus. Within these blobs, trembling, the truck was going too fast. Nona saw a thick pod thing, like the miniature sleeping bags worms made for themselves before they bust out as moths. The pods and the mucus were transparent, wreathed in smoke, and there were irregular shapes inside, irregular and shivering shapes. At least not nightmare wasps again. Fuck. And some of the pods had wings poking through, flexing, pushing. Nona looked at the truck ahead, which was about one truck length away, and the truck behind, which was about one truck length behind. She walked forward to stand on the hard shell driver's cabin, and with a little run-up she jumped forward and sailed through the distance to land on the truck in front. This hurt her feet briefly. It also hurt the thin metal shell on top of the truck, which dented. She looked up at the sky, and she bellowed, "You said you wouldn't do anything weird!" Nona unsheathed her sword from herself and nearly wept from fury. She put both her hands on the hilt. She did not know how to hold a sword, and she didn't care. She could see the broad main drag, with the fisheries off to one side and the harbor far beyond. Her eye, desiring the familiar, looked to where the building probably was, her home a little gray block among the other gray blocks. The truck made a sudden left turn, veering. The trucks were the only vehicles on the road, but big seething pods had splattered onto the asphalt, and the trucks were having to drive around them. Nona stared around herself as the things kept twirling out of the sky like huge and terrible drops of rain, made hard landings on the buildings or on the road, or soft landings thudding into the far-off ocean. She could hear yelling, glass-breaking screaming, and the air siren all at once. Nona turned around. On the truck she had emerged from, someone was now standing where she had stood, on top of the driver's cab. It wore tattered old trousers and a thin old shirt, and it was the captain. The captain opened her mouth and said, "Get him! Get him! Get him! He flees!" The fuck? "I can't," said Nona. "I can't do anything. I don't want to do anything." The captain moaned sharply. "All for nothing. You asked for help. You asked, and all for nothing, only pain. You asked. I gave you blood for blood." What the fuck is going on? But I also love that we're getting a actual conversation between, Nona and the resurrection beast, because that's very interesting. God, my hands are shaking. Blood for blood? What does that mean? I'm guessing that the Jontralute is gonna give us information about that. Nona, grief-stricken, hollered, "Not like this! I love this place!" "Do you love?" said the captain's mouth. Nona struggled. "Yes, no, yes," she said, and then, "I don't know what it means. I say it and I don't know what it means. Did I ever know what it meant?" "Green thing," said the captain. "Green and breathing thing. Big ghost. The drinker. Transformed. What will you eat now?" "The drinker? Drinker of what?" "Where will your body go? What did he do to you to make you this way? You eat yourself." "I gorge on unliving marrow." Yikes. I think I sort of understand what that means, but also I have to keep going, so, sorry. It was true. The captain looked as though she were withering before Nona's eyes. She cried out in haste, "Don't stop that! I can't stop it, but you can stop it! Stop hurting her! She doesn't know what you're doing!" "You cry mercy," said the captain. "Yes, mercy, yes," said Nona. "I have crossed the face of the universe," said the captain. "I poison it to match my grief." "Yes," said Nona, but stop this, stop hurting the captain." She rooted around wildly to find a phrase and fell back on Cam. "You're acting out. Maybe you should take 5. "Nona, I love you so much." "For 8,000 unjust bodies, I will stop," said the captain. Nona said, "No, I want you to stop now." "They concoct their own vengeance," said the captain. "Their justice is not my justice. Their water is not my water. I came to help. I am made a mockery. The danger is upon you, and you do not even know. They are coming out of their tower, Salt Thing. There is a hole at the bottom of their tower. I will pull their teeth. I will make it blank for you." Nona said, "Hot Sauce never did anything wrong, or Beautiful Ruby, or Born in the Morning, or Kevin, and Honesty," here she was compelled by the truth, "Honesty doesn't know any better. Camilla and Palamides never did anything wrong. Pyrrha says she did a lot wrong, but at least she knows it, and we don't like the captain, but we pity her. Stop hurting the captain. Don't do this." And Nona found herself saying, "I'm ready to die. Really ready." "Nothing is really ready to die," said the captain. Nona took a running leap as the truck rounded another corner. She misjudged. She bounced off the side of a building like a ball. She came to a rolling stop in front of the captain and knocked her down, and they both fell together. Nona looked at the captain's face with its closed eyes, still wasted but not dead, and looking a little less like a piece of fruit someone had sucked all the juice out of. Nona lay on her back atop the stretched canvas, and Nona's mouth said, "Just wait, just help me. Help me do this. I might be different soon." What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Are you gonna go back to your original body, Electo, and let Harrow come back? Maybe? Not really? I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Maybe Harrow's in your body. Maybe we're just doing some maybe there's no switcheroo. I don't know. But big dark shapes were still twirling out of the sky, silently it seemed, although there were mismatched boom cracks, distantly resounding. Of course, we're not going to get a resolution right now. We're going to get the giant interlude. Fuck. Okay. Resounding at the very tops of the tall buildings. Nona watched them anxiously. The sky was so thick with them, but were they thinning? Were fewer falling? Nona stared up at the sky. She felt movement next to her. The captain was looking at her, eyes open, normal eyes, the whites covered in little red spindles from where the veins had burst, the ring around the iris deeply black, the iris deeply brown. One of her hands was clasped at the back of her neck as though it hurt her. "Harrow Hark?" said the captain doubtfully. Nona looked up at the sky. She was very tired, or at least there was a tiredness happening to her, a huge neighboring exhaustion that lived when she sought it beneath her neck. It was hard, understanding how her body fit together. She had to deliberately think about its different parts when she wanted to feel a sensation. She closed her eyes. "No," she admitted, "and I never was." What? I mean, if we're working on the assumption that this is Electo, that makes sense, but, still, this is such a weird description. Oops. That is such a weird description, and I really like it. So we're putting a green there. Oh, dear God, dear God, dear God, dear God. Oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, my gosh. So much is happening. So much is happening. John 1:20. In the dream, they breached what he called the reception area and were confronted with the hallway where confronted with a series of long corridors. At intervals down the hallway were more tidal heaps of furniture and stone, and bones, but the bones had been moved by the water, and they settled far away from where they had originally landed. Bones and bodies and parts of bodies. He lingered by them and he said, "Those shitty fucking barricades," and caressed the edges of desks and broken chairs. There were huge black scorch marks on everything, fragments of metal and bone embedded in the walls. Pock marks everywhere, little round holes. It was barely traversable. Little round holes sounds like bullets. More than, a bomb. Which seems like what probably happened. I mean, that's not a very hard assumption to make. I mean, obviously something could be. My knees hurt. My legs do not like to be bent for long periods of time because I spent one whole summer cross-legged sitting down and it fucked up my knees. It was the summer after I graduated. I was cross-legged sitting down on my computer pretty much the entire summer and I did not go anywhere. I mean, I think I went to the beach for a week with my family, but other than that. After a while, he hesitated and some of the bones got up. They assembled themselves into wet splinters heaps. Chips flew out of the walls and out of the water, and they were perfect again, softly white and glowing in the darkness. They scrambled past him and her and started creating a path. A slow way to do it, but he didn't seem to mind. He said we couldn't get anywhere near political conferences anymore, physical or online, but the guy I was walking around was still invited, so go ahead. But the guy I was walking around? Oh. The leader was still invited, so I got in for free. He was my eyes and ears. Nobody was arguing about the FTL plan at that point. Wave 1 was in place and getting ready for final international inspections. They were all arguing about us. How to deal with us. Who should deal with us? I always thought it was funny when I had to puppet my guy into doing speeches about about how his government thought I should be brought to justice. I didn't mind. Excuse me. He said what I did mind was the fucking state of the first wave of evacuee ships. I saw the inspection reports. I saw the questions about second wave logistics, about exactly who was getting to ride those ships out of here. None of them could pass any kind of muster. See, back in our headquarters, we thought the worst they could do was set up some kind of fucking pay-for-preference system to get the richest bastards out first and save everyone else for second wave, maybe third. I can't believe how naive I was. It was M who came to me one night looking like she'd seen a fucking ghost. Apparently A's little brother and her mum had been obsessing over bank movements and assets, going crazy checking manifests. M said, "I've worked out what they're doing. I've worked out the plan. I thought they'd merely make people pay to see who got to jump the queue, but there is no queue." She said to me, John, there is no second wave. There is no third. They're escaping. The trillionaires have converted everything to material resources. Half these passenger manifests are made up. They aren't real people. These aren't real people. They've fucked everyone, even the governments. There'll be one single ship of internationals who think they're on wave 1 to Tall Sea Tai, and everyone else will be corporate or have bought a ticket or be useful. They're leaving us to die. I had to have her breathe into a bag for a while because she hated it when I tried to fix her anxiety attacks with necromancy. When she could talk, I was just all, are you sure? She said, John, there they go. And I said, not as long as I have breath in my body. At this point, the skeletons had freed some debris from an entryway and they could both get through. It led to an equally tumbled-down, fire-smoked wreck that had not been improved by spending a few weeks underwater. More bodies everywhere, lots of them still with meat on their bones. Another assemblage of furniture and a big cracked table with more holes in it. He said, God, this kitchen's fucked. He stepped over bodies as his skeletons fought him a path toward a set of cupboards. Why did I say it like that? Cupboards. And he squatted in front of them and opened a cupboard, and more fetid water came out. She was feeling lightheaded by then. Eventually he returned with his arms full of cans, saying, Hey, peaches and syrup. He did not seem to know how to open the can. One of his skeletons came over and he fused their fingers into a kind of saw, and he sawed through the top of the can. In that dank and awful room, they ate peach halves together, slippery and yellow and squashy with their fingers. They were so sweet she stopped tasting them after the first bite, but they made her feel better. After half a can of peaches, he stopped and said, our last chance was to talk to our government, tell them everything we knew. It wasn't like they'd stopped listening, but we'd gotten the impression that they couldn't listen to us unless we all came in with our hands up. He said, we never should have talked to them at all. What we said spooked someone, who told someone else, and word got through to the fucking FTL project, who started moving like their asses were on fire. The timeline changed. They were down to days, not months. Our intel said they were getting their people on board, setting up the elevators to get to the orbital launcher, which we were told was fully operational. I was going to have to physically stop those ships from launching. Problem was they were launching from multiple platforms, and I didn't know if I could stop every single one. C had been saying, can't we gin up some kind of miracle? John, can't you do an act of good wizardry? Any way to stabilize the North American glacier? Any way to trap atmosphere over the Northern Territory? Show them we can fix things here? But A said, that's for later. First things first, bum rush the ships, pull the bastards out, make them do the cryo plan instead. Get the population safely out and we can stay behind and clear the planet, if John's up for it. He said, I was trying. I was so close to cracking this third thing, the soul. I realized there was the energy you produced from being alive and the energy you produced when you died. But the fact that energy was produced when you died meant there was another phase. I could get a corpse's heart beating and get all the neurons firing in the brain, but it wasn't producing the alive stuff anymore. It wasn't an on-off switch. I'd stopped sleeping and I wasn't eating much. I was keeping my body going just by fiddling with the processes. He said, it made sense that every human had a well of this energy, this soul energy, but I couldn't distinguish it from anything else. Even on the day I'd killed all those cops, there was too much noise and I couldn't work out what the noise was. I could tell it was the thing that I was looking for, but I didn't understand why it seemed so big, and I didn't know what to do with it or how to use it. So I said to everyone, I can't stop them myself, not yet. We have to stall them. We know they need Pan-Euro's orbital gate access, so let's make sure they can't get it. Let's make sure nobody wants to give them orbital gate access. He said, and all of us looked at the floorboards. He said, none of us wanted to actually nuke anything, but a nuke's good blackmail, right? A nuke adds a lot of pressure, right? The people who knew it was there, they knew that if we talked about having a nuke, everyone would find out who gave us a fucking nuke. So he said to our client, Pan-Euro cannot be allowed to let these people through. They're cutting and running. They're leaving 10 billion people behind, having stolen financing and support and materials. They're leaving us to drown. And we said, we don't want to make a scene, but... They said, okay, but hand the fucking nuke back. We've changed our minds. We'll stop Pan-Euro. We'll put our whole weight into making sure they don't get out of orbit. But we want the bomb back before you do something crazy. Right, and you can trust their word. He said, they took so long that the ships were counting down launch. We were about 48 hours away from Wave 1 at that point. A couple of nations were all, hang on, this is early. This isn't to schedule. But the FDL project said they were doing a mock run because preparation was going so well. How the hell did anyone buy that? How much money was changing hands? Didn't they realize that if these bastards were giving away insane amounts of cash, it was because they didn't think cash was worth anything anymore? He said, so here's us, planning to meet these agents in neutral territory across the ditch. over in the huddle where the territory refugees were. They wanted us to pass the nuke back. We all voted to trust them, but A and G and M and I came up with a just-in-case plan. 48 hours became 24 so quickly. G fixed up the case and carried it over alone with caveats. Nobody liked that. They were all, shit, John, send someone dead, send a puppet. But I wanted G. P volunteered to go with him, but G said he wouldn't arm it if P was in range. P went off at him, but it was one of those times where he held his ground against her. I remember. She called him a stupid kid. He said, I had this weird gut feeling before we sent him off on that private plane. And I was getting pretty good at that time, even if I wasn't good enough. I took G downstairs and I got him to face the wall. And I took his arm off. What? He said he didn't feel any pain and I grew him a new one then and there. Bit of a gamble, but I was sure I could do that by then. I wanted his arm, his material. He didn't even ask me to explain. That was the kind of guy he was. He and I had grown up on the same street. I'd spotted him for mince pies all the time as kids, so stands to reason he let me cut off his arm and carried a nuke for me. He added contemplatively, should still be around here. The arm, I mean. I stuffed it in the morgue so nobody can find it. So nobody would find it. I've got plans for that arm. What? Then he took a moment to eat another bright yellow wedge of peach. After the peach wedge, he said, where was I? G, on his way with the nuke. The ship's on the launch pad, 20 hours to go now. Less. So much waiting around. Me in my bedroom with a nun and a migraine, her thinking that if she pushed me enough, we'd instantiate the Trinity and we'd all be saved. Everyone else drinking, the clock ticking louder than ever before. C admitting out of nowhere that she's dating N. Who's N again? I can't remember. All of us like, what? We've known for a year. Go ahead and get married already. We've got a nun. N was all like, that's not legal. C, of all people, said, who cares? That's how bad it was. I feel like I should know who that is. C is Cytheria. N is one of the others, I'm assuming. I can't remember all the others because we don't talk about too many of them. They don't talk about N very much, I feel like. Mercy, Augustine, Pyrrha, Gideon, Cytheria. God, I don't know. I'd go look, but the book is in the other room, so I don't want to get up. I'm sure someone will tell me. Not that it, like, really, really matters, but he said CNN got... CNN! Damn, Sam. Why? CNN got married right over there. You can't see it now because of the rubbish. I made flowers grow from them out of the garden, but they came out weird. Some of the roses had teeth. CNN thought that was hilarious. I think that's pretty funny too, but also you're still a dick. He said the dome meant we hadn't had full sunlight in a while. It was blue. It was beautiful anyway. I cried the whole service. Couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten food. He said an hour and 42 minutes later, G landed and made his way to the meetup, and that's when I had to tell everyone that our nuke was armed and G was a dead man's switch. First, I told our contacts, then I had to tell C and N and P and everyone. He said they went apeshit, which I don't think was entirely fair. Right, and we trust your opinion. Why, buddy? You're the one with the murder polycule and a nuke. Yeah. I said to them, you think they weren't just going to shoot him first thing? You think there aren't 6 snipers with beads on G right now? But they weren't only aggro about G, they were aggro that a nuke might go off and kill a couple million people. I was like, guys, it's fine, they're Australian. He said, wow, talk about jokes with no hope of landing. He said the contacts stayed pretty calm, though. They said, John, we're not doing anything until you dismantle the switch and disarm the bomb. It's not a fair conversation if you have this nuke on the table. Also, you will not be hurting any of us with this suitcase nuke. We're not even sitting in that country, so where would that get you? Who would you be hurting, John? And I said, yeah, I thought about that. They said, did you? I said, yes. On that note, do you remember the dead guy you've mocked up to look alive? The one who still has executive power over your own nuclear codes, who you gave me total access to? He said, by that time I had him in position, it was pretty easy. I just made sure that everyone around him wasn't part of the conspiracy, that nobody around could stop me, and I locked the doors. They gave me, the codes. I had his finger on the button. I told them, you have 30 minutes to tell Pan-Euro that there's no way those gates are opening for those ships. They said, you wouldn't. It would be nuclear war. I said, I'd do anything. You know I could. Cows exhibit mourning behavior for other cows. He said, at this point, my people were like, John, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening? We were all yelling at each other. First time I'd ever seen C angry. N and P were having a go at me too, and the nun and A's hedge fund manager brother had teamed up to try to mediate, which, as per usual, made everyone pissed off at them instead. A and M were on my side, kind of, or at least the side of, this will be fine, we can walk this back, nothing's going to happen, right, John? I was pissed. I told them it would work. N was all, it's not going to work. This is going to end with the ships launching and G getting shot, and you're going to kill millions of people for nothing. We followed you to save the world. I said, we're doing that. This is how we save the world. Believe me. C said, John, your problem is that you care less about being a savior than you do about meting out punishment. I said, C, I was just your best man. C said, you still are. That doesn't change the fact that you can be quite the most appallingly vindictive person I have ever met. He said, things went from bad to worse. The other side scrambled pretty quickly. Like, what you've got to keep in mind is that we've got hundreds of cultists on both sides of the cow wall. It's a sentence I never thought I would ever say and never want to say again. And quite a lot of these guys are One Nation nutbars who think they're going to see out the other end of the world in a bunker, and live to build a beautiful paradise that looks a hell of a lot like the moon is a harsh mistress. That book has been recommended to me. I haven't had time to read it yet, but sounds cool. I love when books reference other books that I like. My favorite Harry Potter fanfiction references the Enchanted Chronicles. Yeah, Enchanted Chronicles, the dragon, dealing with dragons books. Those guys, I fucking love those books. Those are great. If you want some kind of satire on traditional fairy tales and a really interesting magic system and also dragons and badass female characters, go read those books. They're fantastic. They're actually pretty short too. There's 4 of them. And those guys have illegal semi-automatics. We still got Wi-Fi, more's the fucking pity, and those guys are talking to their people on the outside and they flip. So while me and the others are having this massive fight, we get the message that 100 of these guys have changed their minds about us, and they've surrounded the in-air building with guns and we're going down. They've taken a hell of a lot of the other cultists hostage, so if I start to kill anyone, the hostages are dead meat. He said, we kept on yelling at one another, but we mobilized. Well, we yelled, making barricades. I didn't just kill them all. It would have looked completely fucking shitty, and I was trying to win an argument that I didn't solve all my problems with murder. Right, you're about to totally blow that out of the fucking water, John. Everything always happens at the wrong time. We got everyone in the building on lockdown using a bunch of procedures we developed in case of some of the cryo stuff leaked. Shutters down, fire doors locked remotely, this kind of thing. And we built the barricades. You saw those. He said, we tried talking to them saying, wow, this is not the time, be chill, and they didn't listen. A said they'd sold out. I didn't think so. They'd seen me fuck up once, killing the cops, and once people see you do something and come to an opinion about it, there's nothing you can do. People don't forgive, not really. Once they doubt, you've already lost them. That's what was scaring me about the others. Had I already lost my best friends? The only people I needed? I just got the fucking tooth bouquet at CNN's wedding. I'd just caught the fucking tooth bouquet at CNN's wedding. Scratch that about the other sentence. This one's the better one. What if that didn't matter? After a moment, he said, anyway. The outside force of ex-cultists with guns were trying to force their way in, and they'd said they'd open fire if I didn't walk out. And I said, okay, do you want me to walk out? Should I go? And A and M and the others said, don't you dare, John. Instead, I sent out a couple of skeletons to try to save the hostages. A lot of fighting, a lot of confusion. We got some of the hostages inside the building, but then they charged us. We sealed up the hall when they busted through reception. You saw the front doors, right? They had Molotov cocktails. I was all, next cult, let's go for teenage girls instead. Write that down somewhere. And was all, are you kidding? At least with these guys, we have a chance of getting out alive. Teenage girls are ferocious. I was still on call with G the whole time. He was holding up well, dealing with a lot of negotiators, telling him pretty awful shit. He was immovable. That's why I wanted him in. G only listened to 2 people in his fucking life. He wasn't going to listen to some white-collar asshole in a Kevlar jacket preaching about cost analysis. I was pretty sure he was safe. They were too scared to do anything to him. I was more freaked out about the guys hammering on the barricades. I couldn't even take them down because I was trying to do 60 fucking things at once. I was walking around a dead politician. I was having 6 conversations with people I was trying to negotiate with while making a barricade out of lawn chairs, and the hour was ticking down, and I didn't know what to do anymore. I'd lost my nerve. I didn't know what I was going to do when the hour ran out. I had to admit that to myself. I was taking a lot of effort. It was taking a lot of effort not to ice everyone within a kilometer, if only to get some fucking peace and quiet. But I figured that'd lose me the moral high ground. Clearly you cared about that so much. He said, they were skirmishing down the hall when I did freak out and lock myself in the bedroom. I didn't let anyone in except Ulysses and Titania because they wouldn't fight with me. Here, let me take you. He took her from the kitchen, the can of peaches forgotten. The skeletons moved to clear all the rubble from their path. At one point, they reached a solid mass of bone, and as he approached it, it collapsed into dust so that he was walking through a bad-smelling mist. She followed him. The hallway behind it was clear. No piles of broken furniture or broken walls, but everything was filthy with water. The walls bowed. The lights had been ripped out of their housings, and the parts of the ceiling had torn open and revealed big black gaps above the roofing panels. At last, one of the skeletons opened a door so that they could stand on the threshold of a room, just a few steps away from what on first blush looked like a pile of wet brown clothes. So much of what was left looked like wet brown clothes. But there was a body inside those clothes that had not come through the water well. She looked at it, but he didn't. He looked anywhere but at it. He covered his face. He uncovered his face. He looked away. It took him a long time to talk. When he could, he said, Em and her nuns spent a while yelling through the door at me. Well, Em was yelling. Em kept saying this was too far. She knew I didn't want to do this. I could walk this back. She told me everything could be okay so long as none of those buttons got pushed. She said the ex-cultists had made it as far as the lab, so what were we going to do? I didn't respond. Eventually, Em gave up and went away. He said more dreamily, not much left of the hour. Everyone would have been inside the ships. Everyone would have been in place. They would have been doing last-minute checks. There was G waiting in the middle of a city center across the ocean, definitely half a dozen sniper beads on him, a nuke in his hand. I could feel it. I was there with him. I was with a dead body in the command room, security detail none the wiser, with 3 guys with codes of their fingers on the buttons. Everyone who knows this guy's a walking stiff, locked out of the room. A nun praying for my clarity outside my bedroom door. A bunch of scared ex-cultists exchanging fire with the faithful down the hall. The nun is Mercy's cavalier, right? That's what I assumed. It was only a matter of time before someone I loved caught a bullet that I couldn't bring them back from. I needed to do something. I couldn't do anything. He said, eventually, it was the nun who changed things. She knocked on my door and said very nicely, John, how are you doing? And I said, not great, honestly. She said, John, how close are you to finding the soul? And I said, I can't, sister, it's too big. I don't understand why it's so huge. I can't find the soul inside the body. I don't know where to look. I don't know what I'm doing. She prayed over me, and then she went away for the longest 5 minutes of my life. Call came down the line that they were trying to evacuate the city around G, but I was all, you took too long, you know that won't work, and they didn't talk to me again. Then the nun came back, knocked on my door, and said, John, I think I have it. I know you're very scared right now, but I'm going to help you. Please, let me in. He said, I let her in. She'd brought P's gun. As they stood in that filthy hallway, she looked down at the brown collection of clothes and body. She did too, recognizing dimly what she was looking at. He said, don't. This isn't what it looks like. And he said, as though he were underwater with the rest of everything, I guess in all the confusion, P didn't notice it was missing. I thought she was there to kill me. What the fuck is happening? I guess we're putting another yellow tab there. I'm going too fast to stop and try to think about it. Pure is the nun? I really need to have a list of all these characters. I'm not here like, I cannot. Christabel. Christabel? Or was Christabel? Christabel wasn't Cytheria. What does it matter? I don't know these people anyway. I know very little about them. Personally, it doesn't make much of a difference to me what the names are. If that sounds weird, I'm sorry. I'm just like... Too much is trying to happen in my brain right now, okay? Okay. Oh, God. Didn't notice it was missing. What? Titania and Ulysses were there, but I didn't have them jump in front of me. I didn't have them stop her. I guess I was feeling pretty bad, you know. I was feeling pretty shaken. He said, she just smiled at me. She said, John, don't misunderstand. I want to help you. I truly believe that in our most terrible hours, we don't instinctively reach out to God. We push ourselves away from Him. Don't feel bad for not rising heroically to the occasion right now. Fear doesn't help us achieve a state of grace. It deafens the heart. John, I truly believe you can save everyone, so concentrate, please. Is she going to shoot herself? She said, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of death. And she shot herself. He said, her soul hung there for a second, nothing more, and I tried to keep her. All I was thinking was that I had to save her, had to stop this fuck-up if I couldn't stop any of the others. I got a huge injection of the death energy close up, and it was like getting meth injected into my eyeballs. For the first time, I could hold a soul and see its edges, pin it down. It was like a tiny atom bomb. I could tell immediately that this was the missing link, if I could only control it. I should have been able to take the bullet out of her brain and undo the damage, fix the soul back in, bring her back to life. He said, but I held her soul in my hands, and I knew why it had been so hard, because I was tuned in. I was looking at the code. I knew why I hadn't been able to see everything. He said, when I touched her soul, I touched you. What? What? Okay. He said, you were the noise that was everywhere. It was like trying to talk to someone down a phone line with someone... Wait, is he going to put her in her body? It was like trying to talk to someone down a phone line with someone screaming through a megaphone in the same room. You drowned everything out. You were so huge and so complicated, and you were screaming. You wouldn't stop screaming. You were so scared. You were so goddamn mad. She said, I was? He said, it wasn't your fault. He said, but that's when I realized you were there, and I realized the soul of a single human being was incredible. But at the same time, incredible small potatoes. I wasn't holding 2 nukes. On the line, I was holding 3, and compared to you, the other 2 were birthday candles. He said, I left her dead in the bedroom. Did I take something? I don't think I took anything, not even Ulysses and Titania. I didn't have much blood on me. I wiped it off on the jumper and left the jumper in the bedroom, too. Nobody noticed. We had the next problem to handle. While the crazies made us wait, they'd flipped some kind of faithful inside the dome, told them I was busy plotting nuclear war or something else wildly unfair. When I walked back into the kitchen, they were all shooting each other. He said, I just kind of stood there and watched it happen, I think. It wasn't like people shooting each other in a movie. You'd have someone shoot someone, everyone would yell about it, then someone else would shoot that person. It was all awkward, like they were angry but taking turns. A's little brother was there, dead in the middle, shot from both sides. Nobody likes a peacemaker. The more they shot each other, the angrier they got. I don't think they even noticed me watching them. It was like I was invisible. They made each other dead in front of me, and I felt each one like popping bubble wrap. Only I held on to them. I collected them up. In the next room, I found C and N. They'd shot C first, and right in front of my eyes, they shot N. Pop! Bubble wrap. I didn't know what happened to them. This part gets a little weird, you know? Like I dreamed it. I remember P behind a barricade, not dead yet, telling me, John, run. I remember A and M. They were alive. We all hid behind a kitchen table. I remember their hands in my hands. I remember A telling me something and M saying, we're together, we'll go together. But they found us. They were already there. They shot A right in front of us, hauled me out. M said, take John alive. He's worth more to you. And they shot her. He stood there and he said, do you remember what I said was coming? She said, yes. He said, this is the part where I hurt you. Are you ready? She said, yes. What? In the story or in what's actually happening? He said, you were screaming. I wanted you to stop. I wanted you. I wanted you like a caveman wants a wildfire or the sun. I thought you were going to take me somehow, purge me, use me as an instrument, but you didn't say anything. I was babbling. Show me. Come on, I'm ready. You kept screaming and screaming like a baby in pain. So I tried to hurt you. I did hurt you. I reached out for you and it hurt you, but I wasn't strong enough. The caveman, the wildfire, the Neolithic priest staggering in front of the falling star. Ooh, that's pretty. He said, I felt P go. G was the last one alive. I reached out and stopped G's heart. He paused and said, I'm still sorry it was Melbourne, honestly. Love a working tram service. What the fuck, John? What the fuck? What the fuck? Also, y'all really think that killing all of the people around this man is a good idea? Because you just, like, took away all his inhibitions. What does this remind me of? I don't know. A Neolithic priest staggering in front of the falling star. I really like that. I mean, I love falling stars in general. Abruptly, he turned around and walked out of the room, passed back into the kitchen. The skeletons knocked holes in the crusted-up glass so that the air came rushing through them, and he rattled the handle of the glass doors until they opened up, and he could stand outside on the tiles. He stood there, his eyes glowing like lamps in the shadowed air, and he looked out at the sky. He said, "God, that hurt. That stung. I ate every single death." He said, "I let go. In the body they'd paid me to puppet, I gave the command." That command was heard round the world, so many men with so many fingers on so many buttons. The world went down in dominoes. Launch one nuke, you'll get 20,000 anti-air missiles in response. SAM sites open up all over the earth like wildflowers. One little nuke, then a lot of bigger nukes. Christ, why do we have them? Nukes into nukes into nukes. They all came out of subs and bunkers and scrambled jets. The funny thing is, it was all to try to make the other ones stop firing, like an old comedy sketch. He said, "First I became a demigod. I nearly fell out of my body. I put my hand around half the world's throats. Some of them I managed to snap before they were melted away by nuclear fire. I did them clean. Everyone died, but I helped a hell of a lot of them go before they knew anything had happened." Right, we're putting a purple tab in there because we're getting a bunch of information. I mean, we'd gotten some information too, but I mean, I'm too everything to take the time to mark everything. I forget. Last purple tab. I drank them in. And it wasn't enough. I needed those ships. I needed to extend my hand. I got it around the throat of the other half. I made them go away too. Then I had control of everything on the surface but not the ships. Birds flying above the fire. Kids playing keep away. He said, "I put my hands around your neck." He said, "I kept your soul in my hands." He said, "I took you into myself and we became one." He said, meditatively, I tried. There was so much of you. You weren't the small, stained soul of a normal human being. You were so much bigger than that. I opened my mouth and tried to cram you inside. You didn't fit. I dropped to my knees. Here, I believe. He strode forward. She saw that what he was pointing at, a pile of grassless dirt. So I dropped to my knees right here. I scooped dirt into my mouth, ate until I vomited. I gathered up the bloody earth. I realized you were too much for me. Wait, I'm dumb. This whole time she was the soul of the earth, not of Dominicus, right? Why did I not realize? I don't know if I knew if stars had souls or not. How did I not realize that? When he kept saying you are dying, I assumed the sun was dying. And that's why he had to shut it down and, keep it back up or whatever. Or the reason he was the one who had to keep it running. Yeah, wow. I feel silly this whole time. I was close, but not there. It took this. Oh well. I scooped dirt into my mouth, ate until I vomited. I gathered up the bloody earth. I realized you were too much for me. This is the problem. The incorporation. This is the hardest part. It's the human instinct to take. When you burn your thumb, you stick it in your mouth, right? And there was still too much of me that was just a human being. He said, "I didn't stick my thumb in my mouth. Had more sense than that. Fuck knows what would have happened if I tried to absorb you all the way. I probably would have burned to death. Good riddance. Sorry. But I needed a house to put you in. And I wasn't going to put all of you in me. I made you one on the fly. I wasn't even thinking. I ripped half my ribs from my body and made you from the dirt, my blood, my vomit, my bone." Wow, very Adam and Eve of you. He said, "I wanted to make you the most beautiful body I could think of." He paused and said, "But I was stressed, okay? I was insane. Most of what had made me John had gone somewhere else. There were a few little thoughts left, a handful of things that made me me, a couple of scraps of id. It's not fair to judge me, right? I didn't do this thinking. I didn't do it like art. When I was 7, all Nana had to play with in our house were some of Mum's old toys. And my favorite, out of all of them," he gave a long, shuddering sigh. "My favorite was her old Hollywood hair Barbie," he murmured. "I loved her little gold outfit and her long yellow hair. She was the best. She got to have all the adventures. There was also a bride's dream Midge, but Mum had cut Midge's hair into this weird mullet. It was Barbie for me." She looked at him. He looked at her. He had not Hollywood hair Ken. Mom had him too, but he was a creep. I gave him to Nana's dog to eat. Okay, we're putting that. I probably need a candle. I feel like the room is getting too dark. Where am I almost there? I'm literally just one page left, so. Why is the orange not sticking? I keep wanting to say elastic instead of adhesive. I'm going to cut part of this off because the end of the tab is not sticking and it's going to bother me. Okay, there we go. Excuse me. He said, "From my blood and bone and vomit, I conjured up a beautiful labyrinth to house you in. I was terrified you'd find some way to escape before I was done. I made you look like a Christmas tree fairy. I made you look like a Renaissance angel. I made you Adam and Eve, Galatea, Barbie, Frankenstein's monster with long yellow hair." He said, "As the world went up, I remade us both. I hid me in you. I hid you in me. And when we were together, once the shaman had claimed the sun, I became God." He said, "It wasn't enough." He said, the ships were still full of people. I reached our hand out into space. I extended, I struggled. He said, "I bit through the sun first. It's human nature. That started things going. Once you take down the sun, you're cooking with gas, pardon the pun. I sliced through Venus, Mercury, Mars. By that point, a couple of the tugs had already launched through the Kuiper. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm putting green for the shaman claimed the sun. It's simple, but I'm a simple person. I like some celestial imagery. I had to kill Jupiter and Saturn in a fucking hurry. I reached, they blinked away from me. All I could do was hope that they'd watched what I was doing and all died from fucking terror. You and I went full fucking hungry caterpillar. John, you're not cool. You're not cool, John! We took Uranus, Neptune, crunched down Pluto, found every satellite and craft, reached in, crunched up all the humans, moved on. I didn't know how to look, you see, only how to touch. The moment I found the fleet spinning up to enter FTL, it was too late. I could only grab one of them. You and I held it in the palm of our hand. I was in there with them, all those frightened people, all those runaway rats. He stopped. She said, "Then?" He said, "Then they were gone. Lost to me in time forever. That'll teach me not to hesitate." She folded her arms across her chest. She wasn't cold, but she felt as though she ought to be. Standing out in the shadows, in the dust and the dirt, with the reeking concrete shell behind them, she wanted to be cold. He said lightly, "That's it. That's the story of what I did." "Oh," she said. Then he said, "Do you remember what you said to me once I had done it, when we stood here together?" She looked at him, and she said, "Yes." He said, "You said, I picked you to change, and this is how you repay me?" Picked you to change. What? She said, "What else did I say?" He said, "You said, what have you done to me? I am a hideousness." She said, "What else did I say?" He said, "Where did you put all the people? Where did you put the people? Where did they go?" She said, "I still love you." He said, "You said that too." What? It's 5. I need to go figure out dinner. But also, I have like 411, 477. I have like 60 pages left. I'm probably gonna finish it tonight, aren't I? Probably. I guess we'll see. I need a new one. I feel like I want to use up these though anyway. Not gonna use up the pinks. Maybe. I don't know. So much happened. So much is happening. And then I just forget things because too much is happening. This is why I reread things. Even if I am reading out loud, apparently, and not skipping anything, my brain is still like, too much information. We are not going to absorb all of that. Ugh. I just want to read some more, but no, I gotta figure out dinner. And then I can read. Sorry, I'm trying to get the adhesive off the plastic so it doesn't stick in the book. Because that would be very annoying. Okay. That wasn't as bad as I thought, but I'm sure it'll get worse. So, wish me luck.